I am so thrilled to introduce to all of you Grisha Yakubovich. Grisha is the former head of the civilian department in the IDF's coordinator of government activities in the territories unit, which is commonly known as COGOT. Colonel Yakubovich led strategic dialogue with the international community, the Israeli government, and Palestinian Authority on economics, infrastructure, and foreign affairs. He's an expert on Israeli policy in the West Bank and Gaza, bringing an unparalleled insider view from a range of roles, both from the field and the highest levels of policymaking in the Israeli government. Today, Grisha works as a policy and strategy advisor on the Israeli-Palestinian dynamic for both key domestic and international forums, both in the NGO and governmental sectors within Israel and outside of it. So we are very excited to have you here with us today, Grisha. The range of your experience is really breathtaking, and we're especially pleased to have such a high-ranking military officer on the IDF's 72nd birthday. So Grisha, without further ado, I turn it over to you.
I retired 4 years ago, and today I'm also a consultant to the biggest cement company in Israel. It's called Nesher. We produce cement, and I'm supplying the cement to my clients in the Gaza Strip and my clients in the West Bank. I have an office in Ramallah. I have my Palestinian team, and tomorrow actually is going to be the first day that I'm back into the West Bank to meet my clients and to see how can we continue with the businesses. So what are we going to do this evening in Israel, or your afternoon, is we're going to talk about Gaza, West Bank, and what's in between. So I will share a presentation, and I will, of course, I would not show the whole presentation, but I want to start with a question, if you don't mind, and let's see how it works. What's wrong here? It's not moving. Okay. Gaza and the West Bank. The West Bank is controlled by the PA, by the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, and the Gaza Strip is controlled by a terror organization, Hamas, from June 2007. Two different areas. The Gaza Strip is surrounded with a security fence. The West Bank is surrounded with a security fence. The distance between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank is something like 40 kilometers. And I want to ask you guys, is there a physical connection between the two geographical areas? What do you think? Somebody? Okay, let's continue. So, who supplies electricity to the Gaza Strip?
Israel.
Israel, thank you. And who pays for that?
Israel.
Thank you. No. Who pays for that?
Qatar.
Qatar, excellent. No, who pays for that?
Palestinians.
What Palestinians?
The PA.
The PA, do they pay directly? Okay, I'm going to simplify that. So Israel supplies electricity to the Gaza Strip by 10 lines, something like 40 to 43% of the consumption. Now, Israel is collecting for the PA, according to the Palestinian Authority, the revenues. Now, it's something like 550 million shekels a month. Before we deliver the money to the PA, we deduct for the consumption that the people of Gaza use. Oh my God, but Mahmoud Abbas declared only last week that he is stopping all security and civil coordination between Israel and the Gaza Strip. So what is going to happen? Will he get the money at the end of this month? Those revenues that we are collecting? It's less this month because of COVID-19. It's going to reach not more than, I believe, 350 million shekels. But this is the money, this is exactly the money that he is using to pay the salaries for the PA officials that are in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip that still continue getting the salaries from the PA. Okay, I don't want to complicate you too much, so I will move ahead. Who supplies water to the Gaza Strip, guys? Somebody? Who?
Israel.
Israel, thank you. And who pays for that?
The PA.
Thank you, you're right. Okay, so I have now another question, and I'm gonna jump very fast to the end. This is the underground water in Gaza. In 2020, there are going to be 2.1 million people in the Gaza Strip that are about to be left without a drop of water. So if Israel supplies the water, how come 2.1 million people are about to be left without a drop of water? And yes, the PA are paying for that. So Israel supplies only 10% of the consumption. The rest of the water, the people of Gaza use from the underground water, from the aquifer. Now, the underground water, one of the natural borders of the Gaza Strip is the Mediterranean. So if you use the water from the underground water, okay, the aquifer, and you take too much, it means it creates a vacuum. And who fills the vacuum? The Mediterranean. So actually, this process is going to be completed at the end of this year, maybe 2021, because Israel decided to add some more water. And it will, the moment the aquifer will collapse, it will take them 100 years to recover it. So what should Israel do? Should Israel add them more water? Should Israel give them all the quantity that they need? It's 180 million cubic meters of water a year. Do we have that water? Yes, of course we have. But who will pay for that? Mahmoud Abbas is refusing to pay for that. Mahmoud Abbas doesn't want to pay for that. And I want to start from the beginning. So, I'm not going to teach you all history. I know this slide looks complicated, but it's very simple. Okay? What's above the line is the reality in the Gaza Strip. Under the line, it's in the West Bank. And I want to start a little bit 2 years back in 2005. In 2005, Israel implemented the disengagement and 21 settlements were evacuated from the Gaza Strip. So from 2005, there is no existence of Israelis and Jews in the Gaza Strip. No settlements. It's all Palestinian territory given to the PA. This is the decision that Ariel Sharon, the prime minister, took. In 2005 or no, in 2006, two small events, huge events. One is a soldier was kidnapped by Hamas, Gilad Shalit. He was in captivity for 5 years and then he was released. And for that, Israel released 1,100 terrorists. One of them is today the deputy of Hania, Yahya Sinwar. Is a high-rank Hamas guy, and he's leading the process in Gaza. And there were elections at the Palestinian Authority. Who won the elections, guys? Somebody knows? Okay, I will do it faster. So in 2006, Hamas won the elections, and they expected to get enough seats according to their win or percentage of voters from the Palestinian street, and of course they were disappointed from what Mahmoud Abbas gave them. So they were so disappointed that in June 2007, and this is where I start this slide, June 2007, Hamas conquered the Gaza Strip from the unity government. Now in 2006, they established a unity government. Because of that fact, Israel stopped all coordination with the PA. So what is happening actually from tomorrow, that Mahmoud Abbas declared no more coordination, this is not something new to Israel. We already experienced something like that in 2006. And there are solutions. So we will work with private sector, we will work with some respected people in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank. But in June 2007, Mahmoud Abbas will never forget this event because he is in a problem with his legacy. Hamas conquered the Gaza Strip from the unity government, from Fatah. 300 Fatah officials were executed by Hamas. They brought them to high-store buildings, tied their hands in the back, shot them in the knees, and threw them down from the roofs. You can, by the way, you can find these videos on YouTube. It still exists. And from that moment on, the Gaza Strip is actually controlled or led, or the sovereign entity in the Gaza Strip is a terror organization called Hamas. Of course, for Israel, if it's Hamas, the policy that was implemented by Israel towards the Gaza Strip is very simple. It's like, come on guys, you are launching rockets and mortar shells into Israel, tunnels, terror attacks. They kidnapped Gilad Shalit. So we are going as Israel to implement the policy that was actually written in 2005 when we disengaged. We owe you nothing. So I will make it simple. Nothing will be entered to Gaza except what they need. Simple as that. And we as Israel wished that they will get all the things that they need from Egypt. Okay? Of course, Hamas were not satisfied from this policy, and in 2008, they launched the first operation, Operation Cast Lead, launching rockets into Israel. Of course, Israel entered into the Gaza Strip with few divisions. Israel was described as an elephant in a porcelain shop. Huge damage, but you know, it's a little bit difficult to fight an enemy that is hiding in between civilians. It's not so simple, and using civilians as a human shield. I've seen that, by the way, when I was inside. But then, and then the Goldstone report, I don't know if you ever heard about it, condemning Israel about the impact of the policy and the operation. And then another small, tiny event in 2010, a flotilla from Turkey. And the combination of those two things actually made Israel to change the policy from a policy that says nothing is allowed to be entered to Gaza except what they need, to an allowing policy that says everything is allowed to be entered to Gaza except dual-use materials. Now, let's not forget, Israel stopped all coordination in 2006, and then in 2007, when Hamas conquered the Gaza Strip, so there was no coordination with Hamas in Gaza, but Israel renewed the coordination with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. So in the West Bank, the policy is an allowing policy. It's a total different policy implemented by Israel towards the West Bank to empower Mahmoud Abbas, to change the economy, to change the reality. So people will have a lot to lose, to create stability, and I will talk about it a little bit later. Since actually 2008 and until today, there were 3 operations in Gaza. In 2008, Cast Lead, and then in 2012, Pillar of Defense, and then in 2014, Operation Protective Edge. After each one of those operations, Israel changed the policy towards the Gaza Strip for the better, okay? And expanded the civil policy towards the Gaza Strip. Now, let's enter to the shoes of Hamas. It means if I launch rockets, the other side, Israel, will improve the reality, will improve or will change the policy for the better. It means let's build a narrative that will say a simple thing, that Israel understands only power. Now, Hamas have been building, they've built this narrative since the beginning, but those 3 operations actually, they've succeeded to create or to build this narrative to the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. In Gaza, I'm a little bit skeptical because the reality there is bad. But at least when people look at the Mahmoud Abbas and they tell Mahmoud Abbas, okay, what did we achieve from you, Mr. President? And let's try and count his achievements. Can somebody point on one achievement that Mahmoud Abbas achieved since 2005 when he declared the end of the Second Intifada? Somebody? Zero achievements, nothing. More than that, it's not only that he achieved nothing, he is going to be remembered in the Palestinian history, in his legacy, that because of him, in 2007, the Palestinian Authority was split into 2 different entities. 1, Hamas in Gaza, and 2, Fatah in the West Bank. Since 2007, Mahmoud Abbas is trying to reach to if I will try to a unity government. Okay, he's trying to unite the two camps, and unfortunately without success. So Mahmoud Abbas understood that the only way, probably the only way that he will be able to succeed to create a unity government is by implementing sanctions against Hamas in Gaza. So yes, I found myself in 2016 negotiating with the Minister of Energy in Gaza, saying something like, dear, I would prefer not to use his name if you don't mind. Dear sir, we have a crisis in Gaza in 2020 or 2021. The Gaza Strip is about to be left without a drop of water. He said, okay, so what do you want from me? I said, we need to find solutions, and one of the solutions is that Israel authorizes to build a desalination plant in Gaza. He said, excellent, so do that. And I told him, but I'm negotiating with the EU. I flew to Brussels to do that a few times, and I succeeded to bring a commitment that the EU will pay $500 million to build that plant. But they had a condition that the only way to do it, we need to make sure that they will get enough electricity to operate that plant. And his answer was, you know what, I will conclude it. He showed me a finger, but not this one, okay, a different one. And they even told us that they don't want us, I'm talking about my time at the IDF, that they don't want us to continue deducting from their money for the electricity that Israel supplies to the Gaza Strip. So sanctions are something that Mahmoud Abbas is implementing towards Hamas, towards Gaza. And since the sanctions started, the reality in Gaza is getting, the economical reality in Gaza is getting worse and worse. So the Gaza Strip, 365 square kilometers, a natural border, the Mediterranean. The movement of the Mediterranean is in circles. Okay, can you see the arrow, by the way? In circles from south and north. It takes sand, brings sand, takes sand, brings sand, takes sand, brings sand, okay? Now, if you use water, what do you produce? Sewage. What is happening to the sewage? It penetrates to the aquifer. So 24,000 cubes a day penetrate to the aquifer, and 124,000 cubes a day are spilled to the Mediterranean. Now, the movement of the Mediterranean is from south, north in circles. It means it takes sewage and brings sewage where? To Ashkelon. What do we have in Ashkelon? A power plant. Near that power plant, we have a diesel plant. This is the same plant that supplies the water, the 10% to the Gaza Strip. Now, does that really matter who is going to control the Gaza Strip? Hamas, Fatah, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Daesh, Salafiyya, Jihadiyya, Mujahideen. We will need to have a coordination with this entity to make sure that the sewage will not pollute the aquifer, so it will not collapse, and it will not pollute the plant in Ashkelon, so we will be able to continue supplying water to the Gaza Strip, because this plant is capable to deal with seawater, but not with sewage. The Gaza Strip is surrounded with a security fence around it. It's a total area of 365 square kilometers, with almost 2.1 million people who live there. Israel supplies electricity by 10 lines, 43% of the consumption. Israel supplies water, 10%. And of course, Israel supplies fiber optics, so they will be able to ask Dr. Google how to build a rocket. Can we stop that? Yes, of course we can. Now, if you will enter to the shoes of the Israeli intelligence, you should ask yourself, prefer to know nothing or to know who is trying to find some information. Of course, there are two crossings, one in the north, Erez, a pedestrian crossing with thousands of people who enter to Israel on a daily basis, not during the COVID-19, of course. And I think it's going to start again, I hope, next week. And another crossing at the triangle borders between Gaza, Egypt, and Israel, a crossing that Israel invested more than 450 million shekels that actually provide services to trucks, almost 1,000 trucks a day that bring goods from Israel into Gaza. So if you ask me, how do you supply your cement to your clients in Gaza? I'm using this crossing, and all the trucks from the factory that I work are bringing the cement into this crossing. So who is the sovereign entity in the Gaza Strip? Of course, it's Hamas. So who is collecting the taxes from those goods? Hamas. We can ask ourselves, wait a minute, the goods that you guys provide services to bring to Gaza, the taxes are collected by Hamas. So actually, you Israelis are the ones who are the biggest suppliers to Hamas budget inside Gaza. So should we stop all the goods from entering to Gaza? If we do that, we will start another war, or we will make people starve to death. So you should ask yourself, what would you do? We've been talking about the aquifer and the sewage and energy. Gaza is about to enter to the biggest crisis ever, a water crisis, a sewage crisis, an energy crisis, an economical crisis. And it's all going to happen at the end of this year, next year. And this is why Hamas are so worried. And this is what actually Hamas want to achieve, to negotiate with Israel directly or indirectly by mediators. By the way, there are 3 ways to talk to the enemy. We are not allowed to talk to Hamas. It's a terror organization. So how do we do that? Somebody has an idea? Somebody? You're all tired? Okay, so there are 3 ways to talk to the enemy. 1, mediators like UN, Switzerland, Egyptians, PA that are not there anymore. The second way is social media, Facebook, Instagram, and other ways. And of course, the third way is you shoot them, they shoot you. This is also a language. I hope that next time that you will be in Israel and I will lead the tour with you, I will explain exactly how it looks on the ground. Okay, let's move ahead to Judea and Samaria. So I started to talk about the different policy in the West Bank. So what happened till a few days ago is that Israel and the PA led a security coordination, an excellent one. And Israel made sure that there will be quality of life to the people, access and movement, of course, economy, infrastructure, civil coordination. And I want to talk a little bit about numbers. 140,000 Palestinians from the West Bank work in Israel on a daily basis. 140,000 that bring an income of 5.5 billion shekels a year to the Palestinian economy. There are settlements in the West Bank. 32,000 Palestinians work in the settlements. They bring an income of 1.2 billion shekels to the Palestinian economy. So if there will be no coordination between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, how Israel will be able to provide those workers the permits so they will continue entering to work in Israel or in the settlement, so they will be able to bring this income back home to feed their children or to provide them a future. So will they blame Mahmoud Abbas that because of you, Mr. President, that you stopped our coordination, we lost our jobs? So what will be the future of the Palestinian Authority by stopping this all coordination? Is that this security coordination and civil coordination, is it the interest of the PA only or the Israel only? So I want to clarify that. It's for the interest of both sides. What Israel implemented is actually this formula or equation of security coordination, quality of life, to create stability. The political levels will be able to meet each other and to find solutions. I will not complicate this. I will not complicate you with a lot of information about this slide, but I just want to talk about the facts. The West Bank is, there is a map that was created by Israel and the Palestinians during '96, the second part of Oslo, and the West Bank was divided to area A, B, and C. Area A is the cities, the major cities like Hebron, Bethlehem, Jericho, Ramallah, Salfit, Nablus, Tubas, Jenin, Tulkarem, Kalkilia. Okay, the major cities. By the way, Joshua, I see that you're taking pictures of the president. I can send it to you. Okay, so I can send it to you and you can get it original. Okay, it will be simpler for you. Or you want to take pictures, or you're taking pictures of me. I have no problem with that also. So area A is 18% of the West Bank, or actually 18.2% of the West Bank. It's the major cities. under full Palestinian responsibility, security, law and order, and civilian authority. Area B is 18.8% of the West Bank. Its security authority is at the hands of Israel, but there is what is written, and there is a reality. And the reality on the ground that actually the security authority was also at the hands of the Palestinians. And yes, when Mahmoud Abbas declared about the stop of the coordination, actually all the forces of PA forces moved from area B back to area A. So now area B actually is under full, not full, but under Israeli security authority. Law and order, civil authorities at the hands of the Palestinians. And of course, area C is 63.2% of the West Bank. All the settlements in the West Bank, and there are 3 types of settlements. We don't have enough time to enter to that. So again, as I said, when you will be coming to travel in Israel, I would love to take you and to show you and to explain all of that. 3 types of settlements. All of them are in area C. The majority of the settlements are on state land. Some of them also are on private Palestinian land, and there is an explanation to that. I'm not saying good, bad, wrong, right. I'm just saying there is an explanation to that. You can accept it or not. But what people usually think is that area C is under full Israeli responsibility, and it's not really like that. There are almost 500,000 settlers that live in area C, Israelis, Jews, but there are also 200,000 Palestinians who live in area C. I will complicate you with another small data. 60% of area C is actually private Palestinian land. And all the services to those 200,000 Palestinians are supposed to be given by the PA in area C and not by Israel. If you have questions about it, I will explain. The economical reality in the West Bank is, and I will quote one of my employees in the West Bank. It was before COVID-19, of course. Now it's a little bit different. But he told me, we live in the West Bank like in Europe. Why? Because he's traveling in Jordan, he's traveling in Egypt, he's traveling in other countries, and he actually told me our economical reality, our reality here in the West Bank is way much better than our families that live the Arab states that surround us. This is Mahmoud Abbas, the president. I love those Palestinian guys that make those caricatures at the newspapers. They are so smart and amazing. He is so connected to his chair that from that you can understand that there will be no elections at the Palestinian Authority as he lives, as he's alive. The problem is when he will say goodbye, or can I use Palestinian dark humor? Somebody? Nisha? I just don't want to sound political, but I will quote Palestinians.
Go for it.
Okay, so what Palestinians say is that when he will vanish from the arena, either naturally or somebody will help him. And how will somebody help him? He will get one-way ticket to Allah. This is their way to describe it. The problem or the question is the day after. Who is going to be his successor? Is it going to be Barghouti? Is it going to be Dahlan? Okay, is it going to be, I don't know, Jibril Rajoub? Nobody knows. Now, if nobody, when Yasser Arafat died, we all knew that Mahmoud Abbas is going to be the successor. We all knew it. So he took control. Now, his narrative is totally different from the narrative that Hamas built. Hamas built a narrative that Israel understands only power. And the only way to free Palestine is to bomb the Israelis, okay, by force. Mahmoud Abbas is against violence, okay? I met him more than once in his office, in New York, in other places, and the guy is really against violence. Actually, he even declared, he is the only Palestinian leader that ever declared officially. The mistake that we Palestinians did is that we used terror, that we used power. So his belief is that the only way to reach somewhere or to get something is by negotiations, by discussions, by international community, by unilateral steps at the UN. Okay, sometimes it's way much more challenging than, by the way, to deal with a rocket or a terror organization. And but he achieved nothing, as I said, zero. So if he achieved nothing, I will give you an example. Could Israel release? Okay, just a question that you will play at your hands. Could Israel release 1,000 prisoners 7 years ago? Okay, when we renewed the coalition with Mahmoud Abbas, just to empower him, just like that, without creating a reality that they need to kidnap a soldier to do that, just to empower this guy. Could Israel do that? Would that be good as an achievement? I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe he will be able to do that, maybe not. History will judge. But the successor or the successors, I believe that there will be a group of successors that will appoint somebody that will be like a puppet on the street. What narrative are they to adopt? They achieve nothing by using those peace ways as or they will adopt the narrative built by Hamas, and they will say if Hamas succeeded to achieve such by launching into Israel, and if we will do the same West Bank, Israel will have a difficulty to deal with that because the West Bank is totally different than the Gaza Strip. Okay, two different geographical areas. The West Bank and Tel Aviv is not more than that. Kalkilia is 1.2 kilometers from Kfar Saba. It's nothing. They will not need to invent new technologies. They will use a mortar shell and they will hit Kfar Saba or Herzliya. And this is a question that Israel is dealing with. So, what is the agenda today in the West Bank? Of course, I didn't write it, but it's this new challenge of stopping all coordination with Israel. No more security coordination, civil coordination. Of course, C and the declarations of the government of Israel about the Jordan Valley and the settlements. The incitement that still continues and goes on in the West Bank also. The flow of funds. Don't forget that President Trump stopped all the PA, and it led to a huge problem that the PA could not maintain government properly. But it's not only them; it's also the Arab donors. I've heard, I think 2 weeks ago, a guy from Saudi Arabia that recorded something, and he is actually sending a message to the Palestinians. It's like, I want to get back my mother's gold. We sold the gold to give you the money. I don't know if some of you heard of that or listened to that. We sold our gold to help you, and actually you stole all the money. So give us the gold back. Give my mother's gold back. So, and I hear more and more voices from the Arab world about the Palestinian problem. And of course, the day after, who is going to be the successor? By the way, this is what Hamas actually wants. This is their vision, to be able in the future to be the organization or the leaders that will actually get the legitimacy to and the recognition as the rightful leaders of the Palestinians all over the world. It's not only in the Gaza Strip, 2.1. It's not only the Palestinians in the West Bank, 4. It's a total amount of 12.5 million Palestinians all over the world. It's in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Chile, Argentina, the States, in Europe. A total amount of 12.5 million Palestinians. In Gaza, of course, preservation, a global recognition, the right of return, the demonstrations on the fence, the kites and the balloons, by the way, started again this week. Of course, the crisis in 2020-21, and of course, the vision is to be the leaders of the PLO. And for both of them, actually today's agenda is, of course, COVID-19. I have to be fair and to say that Hamas did an amazing job in Gaza, really amazing job. Only one woman that died at the age of 76 at the beginning of this week, only one. And they really did an amazing job to stop COVID-19. They've succeeded to build 1,000 isolation units in 14 days, 500 in Rafah, 500 in Erez, and whoever came from Egypt into Gaza, he was entered to an isolation of 21 days, and they've succeeded to keep the number of patients. I think the highest peak reached to 39, and that's all.